So just so you may notice that we have a little bit of a different background today. So today, hey Dr. Self-Respect. So today we are going to be dyeing plastic, and I have to do that in my kitchen. So we've got sort of a rigged setup here to do that. So I'm gonna grab all our stuff and we'll get the water boiling and show you. It's really easier than it should be to dye plastic. So what we've got in the lower corner down here, right there, is that we are making some tubes to go on the arm bandolier for a commission. And the tubes right now are clear, and we're going to be dyeing them blue and then putting a blue light, a blue LED in the blue tube to make it nice and vibrant blue like the picture. So that's kind of our goal. So that's what we're going to try and do. So the first thing is a stainless steel pot. This might be aluminum, I don't remember. But because this is a plastic synthetic dye, it's going to dye everything. I do not recommend Teflon or anything like that because the particles will get into the Teflon and then you're going to be eating dye. So this is a special dye pot just for us. So we've got that. We have our test tubes. And so it's a bag of 100 that I got off of Amazon. And they're just a 2-part plastic piece. We have the little plastic stopper at the top. And then the tube itself. So we're gonna be dyeing the tube because the LED is gonna replace the stopper. So we don't need to dye the tops. And this is the dye we're going to be using. So you want to specifically get the RIT Dye More Synthetic for dyeing plastic. I got 2 of this color, so you can always go darker. So it's better to start light and then add colors as it goes to get the color that you actually want. So we're going to follow the instructions that are on here, and so all we do is we're gonna add water. We're gonna heat the water to just below boiling and then add some dish detergent, which will break up any sort of surface tension we've got on the plastic from its processing, and then add the dye. So it's pretty straightforward. And the color we are using for this project is sapphire blue. Yes. All right. Important safety gear. We want an apron to protect our clothes. Because this is synthetic dye, it will dye everything. So we have a very, very relevant apron here. We've got our Los Pollos Hermanos apron that was from, I think it was from a Loot Crate that we got it from. And it is perfect for art projects like this. Right? The other thing we're gonna need is rubber gloves. Because again, this is a dye. It's true for any dye, you should wear gloves. So I've got these heavy duty sort of work gloves. You can use regular latex gloves or latex alternative if you've got an allergy. And that's it. So we're gonna put the water in our pot. And we have a special guest today. This is Ash. She's not allowed in the sewing room most of the time, so she doesn't get to make many appearances, but I thought she might come in and help us today. here is our pot of water. I also made this little stand so we can turn all the test tubes upside down so that all the color runs down and doesn't pool on its side. I've got it on aluminum foil as opposed to paper towels or anything, so that if there's any drip, that it just gets caught by the foil and doesn't potentially go through my paper towels. So that's what that is. So we'll go ahead and turn on our water. And while we're waiting for that to heat up, I do have a few other plastic things, and they are different. They're from different manufacturers. They've all got different sort of thicknesses. And so like this little snow globe kind of thing here is much thicker plastic than the tubes are. And I also have this plastic face shield that I ordered a couple of these for the express purpose of dyeing, actually, to incorporate into costumes or maybe add some LEDs to it. Something glowy, because who doesn't love a glowy thing? One of the nice things about using this dye in the bottle is you don't have to add the salt. None of that. It's just a little bit of dishwater, or dish soap, sorry. And then you can just pour it right in, which is nice, because if you get the salt wrong on a regular dye, you can really mess up your balance and mess up your color fastness. So I'm gonna prep my test tubes, and we have enough. I mean, we've got 100 tubes. So I'm gonna just start with the 14 that will fit on my little stand here. And the last thing we will need is a pair of tongs. I'm gonna wrap these in foil real quick so that we can pull things out of the boiling water without sticking our hand in. I do have a pair of tongs coming that are going to be specifically for this, but they are not here yet because I didn't think about it until the last minute, but that's okay. All we need is something for gripping. So there we go. We got one side, and we'll wrap up the other side. Again, this dye is not food safe. Not that I think any of y'all would eat it, but it's important when you're working with things in your kitchen that you make your distinction between things that are and are not food safe. All right, so we've got our tongs wrapped in foil. Thank you, Dr. Self-Respect. It is quite a Herculean effort for me to stand up on a counter so that I can project it down. There we go. We'll just keep ourselves on track with how many we've done. And it's already starting to boil. The instructions recommend around 200 degrees, and I don't think I still have my, actually I do. I've got a thermometer. We'll make it happen. Correction, I thought I had a thermometer. It'll be fine. We'll add that to the list of things next time. Very exciting to watch water boil, I know. Oh, the last most important thing is ventilation, because dyes. And that's true for all ventilation. So I've turned on the fan over the stove. And that should be enough in the background. So let me know if it's too loud or if the music is too loud, and we will readjust as much as we can. But we do want to stay safe, and because of my allergies, opening windows is not really an option. So, all right, we've got our 14 test tubes ready to go. Water is starting to boil. So we'll get our dish soap online here. Just out of frame, nice and sneaky. Aha! We do have a thermometer, found one. Let's turn it to Fahrenheit. All right, we're at 150, so we got just a little bit longer to go. And as you can see, it's still just light bubbling on the bottom. In retrospect, I probably could have started this before the stream, but these are the things we learn. The other neat thing about this synthetic dye is that it's not just plastic, it could be just about anything. It's especially good for polyester blends because polyester is a type of plastic. And so being able to dye spandex and other fabrics like that is really great. I have only used this for dyeing plastic. But it would be neat to try it on some other things as well. All right, let's see where we are here. We're at 170. All right, so close. Very excited to use my apron. It's been hanging in the closet since we got it like 2 years ago. Because I like to play it fast and loose with my baking and not wear an apron. All right, 179. So once it reaches that 200 temperature, we'll turn the water down since we're gonna be coloring a lot of things. And so we can keep the water warm. Now I don't want to stick my thermometer back in the water because this is for cooking and not for crafting. So I will invest in a thermometer just for this process in the future. I don't think our foil trick will work here. Oops. And of course, you don't want to do the normal cooking trick where you put some salt in the water to make it boil faster, since all that chemical work is already done. Oh, I got real mad. may be the steam. 195. All right. Go ahead and put our thermometer away. So here we are at the appropriate water temperature. So the next step, according to our directions, is, it says 200 or greater. So now that it's just below boiling, we're going to reduce that heat just a little bit and add a teaspoon of liquid dish detergent. Got very scientific measurements here. Here's our teaspoon of dish detergent. We're gonna shake up our bottle. Gonna finish suiting up here in our very fashionable gloves. And so the ratio is, for fabric, is using a half bottle to get the color with 3 gallons of water. So we're dyeing much smaller things, so we don't need quite that level of dye. So all right. Of course, I should have checked. These are brand new bottles. Of course, they're sealed. Just increasing the tension, right? Yeah, we'll go with that. You see that color? All right, we're gonna a nice little rolling boil there, so we'll turn our heat down a little bit more. And I'm gonna add the dye. And let that sort of get itself mixed up there. And let's try our first tube. So here we go, nice and clear. And different plastics will dye at different rates, and mostly want to make sure that the tube is getting a nice even distribution. Okay, so I'm just going to do one right now just to see how long it's going to take. Now, of course, I have to find it. I've lost it. It's gone forever. I really don't know where it is. Well, we learned a thing. The last thing I dyed was a pair of goggles, and I was able to hold onto the stem while dyeing them. Alright, well, I guess we'll find that later. Let's try this again, huh? Alright, I'm gonna hold it right here. See, that was just a couple of minutes, and yep, that's gonna be a problem. So the water is so hot that by holding it with the tongs, it is deforming the plastic. So this one's gonna be a bust too. I may have to go find some string and do it that way like you would a candle, and that probably would have been smarter, but we learned things, right? So, I don't know if y'all can see that, it's already got a blue tint to it. And since this one is already nice and warped, I don't know where that other one is. Yeah, you can really tell with me holding it. So we'll go ahead and set that to the side. Just go ahead. And I'd love to find that other one. Well, okay. So I'm gonna run and get some twine really quick, and we'll try another approach with these. So enjoy the boiling water and lo-fi, and I'll be right back. So we've got some twine and some scissors. So let's try this and see if this works. This is what happens when I do live things. And I have dyed plastic before, but just not tubes, which is part of the reason that I wanted to get 100 of them. So we'll just, let's try just one. It may leave a funny dip in it. But I guess we'll see. All right, so this is the next experiment here. So we've tied a piece of twine onto the tube, and I'm going to dip it down. It's always an experiment when you're hand making things. Oh, it's still curling. These might just be too thin. We might just need a thicker plastic. Or let's see what we can do. And if anyone has any suggestions, I am definitely all ears. The concept is there, but as you can see, it's got this little, trying to show you, there's now a bend to it when they were straight before. So, turn down the water some more. And I bet it's because of the angle where it's going in too. let it sit there for a couple of minutes and see what happens. I did turn the water way down. It's now at basically a 2 on the stove. Yeah, that curve is getting really pronounced, so. Yeah, it is kind of similar to Easter eggs, and I don't feel like this is gonna, they're all at that curve. I wonder what's going on with that. Yeah, I feel like there's more science to dyeing Easter eggs. Good morning. All right, let's try a thicker plastic. Let's try this guy. All right, so since we'll be dyeing these things separate, let's go ahead and just put them on there, and then we'll just hold it by the stems. Here, hold stems. That's what it is. Worst case scenario on the test tubes is that I end up having to paint them on the inside, and or put a lighting gel in there maybe. Let's see. I'm thinking on it while I'm trying to get this put together. There we go. All right, we'll just do one. It's not exciting to watch anybody struggle with plastic things. All right, so just like Dr. Self-Respect said with Easter eggs. Now this water is a little bit shallow for this thing, so I'm just gonna keep rocking it back and forth basically. So it's already got a little bit of a tint to it. We'll see how blue we can get it. Yeah, this is a much thicker plastic, so I think that the test tubes are too thin, and they're gonna keep warping. There we go, see? So it may require some more research on what to do with those thinner plastics. But this is holding its shape really well. We did also turn down the temperature a lot, so. Now the way that you test this when you're doing fabric is you can actually take a paper towel and test the color. So let me show y'all what that looks like here. The other cool thing is that you can take it out and kind of let it dry and then do another round. So here's our paper towel test. This is the darkness of the color as it's in the bowl right now, in the pot. It's not a bowl. So it's actually really close. So let's try adding some more color and see if we can get a darker blue. That's about half the bottle now. We'll take our safety tongs and we'll stir those up. I might have found what I'm hoping is that I can recover this test tube that I've lost at the bottom of this thing, and that it's not just a glob of plastic. I can feel it. I can feel it in the bottom, y'all. Oh well. It'll still be there, or it'll be melted glob of plastic when we dump it out. Okay. Trying to keep that stove a little bit tidy. because this does like to dye everything. So let's try another round now that we've added some more dye and see what we come up with. Because what I'd really like is a really nice deep blue, not navy exactly. But something that it's very apparent that it's a blue color, if that makes sense. So now that is a much darker blue. It's kind of hard to see on camera. I might add another round. And then we might try another one of these test tubes now that the temperature has really been lowered. But I really do think that that it's the thinness of the plastic of these tubes that's going to prevent us from being able to dye them, unfortunately. Okay. So this is our watercolor now. That's a nice blue color. And then here is our face shield right now. So we'll go a couple more minutes on it. But I do like that color. I think that's what I wanted. And I've got a whole nother bottle in here of dye if we really want to go super dark with it. But at some point, there's only going to be, like this blue is only going to be so blue. That it's not a navy, and so it doesn't have some of those undertones that a navy would have. I'm definitely knocking around that test tube that we have lost forever at the bottom of this thing. See if I can scoop it up. Hold on. There it is. Okay. So, for those of you who just joined us, this little curled piece here has been sitting at the bottom of the pot basically since the start of the stream. It was supposed to be a test tube, and now there's some science, but that's not the science we wanted. It is the color I wanted though, so I'm a little upset that these are going to be too thin. All right. So this is, it's pretty nice. Let's hold it up against a white background, that'll make it a little easier. All right, all right. That's real pretty, I like that. All right. I'm gonna set that off to the side here on our aluminum foil. And let's try another test tube because why wouldn't I? Oh goodness, all right. And so this is the one that we tried tying the twine on to dip it like a candle. And turns out manipulating twine with gloves on isn't that easy. I wanted to see if it left an indentation. I am thinking that it did. It didn't. A little bit maybe. Yeah, so I've tried lowering the dye temperature. It's about as low as I think. I can go a little bit lower. So we're gonna see if that works. And my backup plan at this point is to just paint the inside. So let's see. All right, that's gone to the bottom now. Let's see if we can rescue it. No. I was thinking that if I remembered exactly where it dropped. I'm terrible at this, y'all. There it is. Okay. That might have worked. Maybe if we do them just a little bit at a time and just keep reapplying. I'm getting blue all over my kitchen floor. That if we keep reapplying, then maybe that'll work. So let's see. Trying to get my little stand here that it's not leaning on one or the other. All right, let's give this a go. We're just gonna dunk it a couple of times. And as soon as we start to see some color, I'm gonna drop it over here. Try not to drip anywhere on the floor, and then do the next one. All right, let's try this. Because you can always add more color, right? All right. So now I'm gonna go back to this one. So this is the first one that we did like this. And it is just the slightest tint of blue. So let's try. And I don't want to, I don't know why it's getting bubbles, but like we were doing it with fabric. All right, so here's the color difference we've got right now. I don't know what the bubbles are about. Or, oh, I bet that's the lines from where we're holding it. Yeah. Well, that's a thing. So here's our color difference. So it is working, but I don't know if that's a manufacturing thing, because it's not bubbles. It looks like it, but it's not. All right. Let's try this one. So I don't know if y'all can see this, but there is a line, like the plastic printing line down at the bottom of this tube. And as you can tell, the water is not so hot, and I can put my fingers right in there. With my gloves, of course. It's so weird. These little bubbles are getting in there. And that is much warmer than it first appears. Alright. But it doesn't take long to get some color on these things. So, let me check and see if those are working at all. And let me not dye my whole kitchen blue. Or at least try not to. Alright, so let's try our tongs again. And also there's some hair in this one, so we'll see what this does. And so we're gonna hold it there for a minute. So it's 10:40 Eastern time right now. I'll wait for it to turn. That just turned 10:41. I feel like that was not a minute. That's why you buy extras. I think the lower temperature is definitely helping. It's definitely not warping like it was, so that's good. Sorry, I'm watching the clock on my stove. All right, so a little over a minute. Just holding it with the tongs the whole time. There's no, there are no dents. There's some weird, like, squiggly hairs in there or something. But yeah, this is definitely, all right, well then let's try this one. So this one has some color on it already. It's one of the first ones we did. Not the actual first one, but, so let's set that in there. And let's try for 2 minutes and see how it goes. No, you haven't totally missed it. You have missed some of the hilarity that has ensued with what happens to plastic when water is hot. So this is your really bad Ben Nye substitute for the day. Turns out plastic melts when water is hot, in case you weren't aware. Now there are some, I did see a video of a guy at an automotive place that was using this same technique, except he added acetone to his bath to open up the plastic. So I wanted to try it with the directions as is first, since it does work just straight as is. But there's also the problem with the temperature being lower that it's going to take longer. So we'll see how that goes. So we've got another minute to hang out here. I am pleased. So for those of you who are just joining us, this is what happens when it sits at the bottom. This used to be a straight test tube. It's now shrunk. And it's a macaroni. All right, that's been about 2 minutes. So those weird lines, we'll see what happens with those. Those are not where I was holding it, so there's that. So this is a thicker plastic that we have dyed and let set to dry. There's a little bit, I don't know how well that's gonna show up. I don't know if y'all can see some of those variations. And so that could have been something that was on the plastic or just the way that we were going back and forth and not making like a single thing. But it looks like it's kind of been drying that way. So let's try, I'm gonna turn the heat up just a little bit. And this is the very first one that we did, where we were doubling up on the dyeing. So this is the color we're at right now. So it's got a blue tint to it, but not as blue as this guy over here. So, raise the temperature just a little bit. We're gonna try and add more blue dye to my floor and also some more blue dye to this. And if this is what it takes, then this is what it takes. And it's just not super exciting to watch, you know, the boiling pot of water. But I am pleased that we were able to find the lost at sea one. There we go, we got a little bit of steam coming off the top of it, so it wasn't really steaming before. Now, of course, the other thing we could do, since we lowered the temperature, we may be able to just add more dye to it, and that may help darken it up a little bit more as well. So it looks like whatever those weird lines are drying out. I just don't know what they are. With the exception of the one that had, I think it's got a hair on it or a piece of polyfill or something. All right, let's try for 1 more minute here. I also get impatient, so it's always good for me to practice things that increase my patience level. Alright, so that is about 3 minutes. Still no deformity with holding it with the tongs. So let's put it over here on our little stand. Ooh, that is a lot darker. Okay, okay. So let's try this one. Actually, I'm gonna try a clean one and see if, I say 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Since we have increased our temperature just slightly. We have not added any more dye. We've used about half a bottle of the dye. So we are working on a commission for an arm bandolier with these blue vials that's down in the lower corner. Yeah, so my plan is to put a blue LED in the top, but because these are just clear plastic, there's no diffusion and there's no way to capture that color to make it a little more intense. So this is the person who we are doing the commission for is doing a costume of an original character. And so this character has bandoliers of blue vials on their arms. So we're making the vials and also the bandolier, the arm bandolier to go on it. So I did a test with just the blue LED, and it didn't really, I mean, it looked like a blue LED inside a clear plastic thing. So my hope was that we could dye these blue to add that filter, like you would do a gel over a light. And if not, then my backup is probably some watered down acrylic paint that I can just squish around inside of it. So if y'all are interested in seeing how that technique might work, I can save that for next Thursday. This time I'm resisting the urge to pull it up and check on it. We'll see how that works. So I'm gonna give it another 2 minutes, and that will be 4 minutes of a completely untreated tube. And that's probably the trick, especially since we now know that we're not melting it just by holding it, which was the higher temperature. I will definitely do a test after everything is all cleaned up with my thermometer, figure out exactly what this temperature is the water's at. Alright, 1 minute to go. It's very exciting. That's what the lo-fi is for. A nice, chill, making mistakes morning. That's part of cosplay, that's part of art, is figuring out what works and what doesn't. And that's why you always get extras. But I only need about 14 of these, and I've got a pack of 100. Now it's 97 usable ones. So All right, so that is approximately 4 minutes, completely untreated or uncolored. So here's sort of where we're at right now. So this one's been through it a couple of times. This one has been through slightly fewer times. And this was once. So you can see that it is, the blue is taking to it. We do have to find that balance, but it's not this color. I don't know how well, yeah, that's really showing up, okay. So I'm trying to get this to be this color, and I don't think that this is gonna work, or I'm gonna be here for 10 minutes per tube. Now the other thing that I might be able to do is just dump all the tubes in there, let them sit at this lower temperature for 5 minutes, and then fish them out. So we've got some time. Let's try that. Okay. That blue is not bad. It's not a bad shade, but let's see if we can get it darker. All right. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Is 6 Jennifer. Okay. So we're trying to go for 14. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And one more makes 14. So none of these have been dyed. So I'm going to just put them all into the water, and we'll set a timer for 5 minutes and see what happens. And we'll put 2 more in there just for good measure in case I lose some at the bottom again. So there's a total of 16 tubes in there. I'm going to take my tongs and make sure everything has got water in it so it's nice and sunk. And start our timer for 5 minutes. Now I'm definitely having flashbacks to dyeing eggs. I'm trying to keep them all submerged in the water so that they come out nice and even. I wasn't great at that either, so. All right, so we've got 5 minutes on the clock. And I'm gonna take a second and see if it's too late for me to, I don't know if y'all can see the blue spots on my floor. Well, at least it comes up off my tile floor easily. Also, you probably don't want to let that sit too long on whatever surface you don't want this color. And maybe the dish detergent is what makes the difference, or the dishwasher detergent rather. My gloves are probably stained forever. Our twine experiment is a nice sort of teal color. So here's the original color, and there's what it was dyed to. And this was in our first attempt with putting it in with the tongs. We've got this nice deformed piece here. And this was the one that got left at the bottom at the higher temperature. And this is when we realized that it was probably too hot. And this was with the string, so there's a little bit of indentation there. And then this is one of the ones that we just did. So you can see sort of our learning curve here. And this is the mask. That kind of idea. So we may give that a go. And this one I did not get around to, but this sort of plastic snow globe thing, which again is a thicker plastic like the mask. Actually, I think it's a little bit thicker than the mask is. So that should be able to be dyed at a higher temperature. So I'm excited to see how these turn out. So I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup while I'm waiting on the timer to finish. Just so I've got somewhere to put all these things. Not scanning anything else. See, this is why we wear our apron. Because that's definitely not coming out. Fabric is dyed forever. I've got all these little white caps that are a little bit thicker plastic than the tubes are, but it was not on our plan, not on our agenda to color those today. I have a container of like plastic scrap things, and so I'll put them in there. That's also where I put on my embroidery machine. I use plastic bobbins that have come preloaded with the machine. So I'm saving all of those plastic bobbins for some sort of potential project, maybe. We shall see. All right, let's see if we can find any. All right, there's 16 of y'all in there. I can hear you. All right, I got one. Does look like they're starting to curve just a little bit. So 5 minutes at this temperature is probably the most that they can stand, at least at one time. I'm getting really good at operating tongs with plastic tubes. I said that. And then I lied. Okay. All that water out and trying to make less of a mess, but it's not really working out for me because it's me. So let me see. There we go. So I made my little stand thing out of some scrap upholstery foam and some wooden dowels that I cut down to 4.5 inches. These are 4 inches long. And they definitely have a blue tint to them. Tiny bits of blue spatter all over the side of it. It looks a bit like Smurf crime scene over here. Yeah, so some of them are definitely curved. Just the tiniest bit, so the water cannot go any higher than this for this plastic. Right, and I know there's 2 more of them in here. And we set those on their sides. See how those go. Maybe you're in there. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off, not get my hair into blue synthetic dye. So it's still drying, but here's what we've got. So this is compared to, oh yeah, okay, all right. Now I don't think that we're gonna be able to get this color on these tubes without this result. Maybe if we do them 5 minutes at a time. But yeah, and just for reference, this is a clear one, so that you can see that there is a difference. And that might be enough of a difference. I don't know how well that shows up on the camera. So let these dry, and we'll do a test with our LED and see exactly how much that color works. And then we will check in. If y'all would like to see a secondary technique for what might work with mixing it in an acrylic wash, then we may try that next time. But yeah, I'm hoping, actually, let me check. This is the LED, and it is just a little guy. So this is one of the ones we just dyed in our bath. And so I'm going to be gluing the LED into the top so it fits like a cap, basically. There we go. So this is our LED with the light, with it dyed. And this is the LED without the dye. So it definitely makes a difference to have that dye in there. So I was hoping for a little bit more color. So I think I am gonna try and do like an acrylic wash. So if y'all are interested in seeing how that experiment goes, I can save that and we can work on it together next week. If there's something else you'd like to see, let me know. I'm also working on some Twi'lek costuming and some headdresses and some Laiku. So all sorts of fun, neat things going on right now. So we are, at least for the next couple of weeks, on Thursday mornings from 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I am Jen with the Geek Forge. You can find us on Etsy. And yeah, so we'll do the acrylic wash for these next Thursday, and we'll do some research on that and figure out the best way to do that. If there's a couple of different techniques, maybe we'll do a watercolor and an acrylic wash. Maybe we'll do a couple of different tactics. Maybe we'll mix some glue with Mod Podge and stuff. We'll do a whole testing thing for y'all, and it'll be great. We'll be back in the sewing room since there will be less chemistry and not any less mess, though. I will never promise less mess. So anyway, thank y'all for tuning in. I really appreciate you hanging out with me and chilling and doing some dyeing. And I will see you all next week for some more test tube experimentation. Everybody have a great morning, and I'll see you next time.